Love our Fridays. For this man, you can find him in the Marina Times, his many musings about all things from music, television, film, and the clubs. You know, it used to be a big deal in the clubs. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder, everyone. What up, Michael Snyder?
Sure and begorra, Mark. The happiest of St. Patty's days to you, Marco Thompson, and to you, Kim McAllister. Wait, is that an Irish McAllister or a Scottish McAllister?
That's
I'm not
Scottish.
really sure.
Yeah.
Forget about it. I rescind my happy Patty's Day to you.
Kim, how are you?
Honestly, it's amazing. I come on a rainbow. I am the pot of gold.
Well, it's, yes.
There's never been anything like this.
Hey, on St. Patrick's Day, it's a lot stranger to be kissing the Blarney Stone than to be getting stoned, spewing Blarney, and kissing strangers. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about? I love it.
It's
right.
a big party day.
Oh, my God.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Right, yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Mark's madness,
yes, sir. You have a bracket, by the way.
I do have a bracket, and I am fully on board with Ma'am. I'm on the phone. I'm reaching out to my Friday brother, Jim Avila, and saying I am totally on board with your drop. I love that. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited about this year's iteration of Mark's madness.
Very good, and you lead us off with iteration, a ding word. Thank you.
I should have my own drop because of all the dings, but maybe every ding, it's every time you hear a ding, Michael gets a drop. It's sort of like that. It's sort of a little, kind of.
Tell your little friends, the dreams do come true.
It's a wonderful drop. I got a little reference there to an old movie. Speaking of movies, let's get to movies.
Let's do it.
We've talked about this in the past. There's been a big merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery, and that's impacted Warner Brothers' product. I say product. With all due understanding that's what we're talking about. It's an industry. It's the movie industry. Anyway, from the entertainment media that this has caused a big shakeup there, and it's included the gutting of HBO Max's programming, specifically or especially DC Comics-inspired stuff. The nearly completed Batgirl movie, we've discussed it. It was spiked. The superhero shows Titans and Doom Patrol on HBO, both canceled with a half season left to be aired somewhere. And the underperforming DC Comics movie unit is being completely overhauled by a new creative executive team, one of whom is James Gunn, the screenwriter-director of Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, and he did Suicide Squad, the movie, and the Peacemaker TV show for DC. And they have been clever and exciting, and so people are hopeful, us superhero fans. The plan is for a unified DC movie and TV universe, but the reinvention is being preceded by 3 already-in-the-can movies they were afraid to spike, one of which is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, opening today. And there's also an upcoming Flash movie and an upcoming Aquaman movie, and then they're supposed to start anew. But the question is, will anybody in these other movies transition to the new iteration? Hey, we've got an iteration in there again.
We already dinged it. So
I know, so don't even. So we'll see. But this one movie, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which is a sequel to 2019's Shazam, does again feature Zachary Levi and various other cast members from the original to continue the story of Billy Batson, an orphan in a Philadelphia group home with a number of other orphans who are all being watched over by a pair of kindly foster parents. In case you don't know, Shazam was developed from the long-running Fawcett Comics knockoff of Superman from the 1940s. There were all these legal issues. He was the original Captain Marvel, so Marvel Comics got into a tizzy about who owns the name Captain Marvel. They rebranded this character, a big muscular guy in a big red suit, Shazam. And by the way, his enemies in the comics, all the way back to the 40s, referred to him as the Big Red Cheese, likely because he's a muscular guy in a red suit with a kind of endearing smile. But, the legal rambling and wrangling aside, the name Shazam comes from the magic word that transforms good-natured kid Billy Batson, played in the movies by Asher Angel, into the seemingly adult powerhouse Shazam, played by Levy, even though the character of Billy slash Shazam preceded the Tom Hanks movie Big, this is very much the same kind of kid in a grown man's body, only with superpowers. It's like a wish fulfillment thing. And you got your supervillains and a whole family of foster kids get to share Billy's powers, which by the way, were granted by a wizard in need of a champion to fight the forces of darkness.
Wow.
So in this installment, the antagonists versus Shazam and his family are the Daughters of Atlas. And they are played by Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, and Rachel Zegler. So a little star power here.
Yeah.
The wizard is again played by Jimon Honsu. So the Daughters of Atlas are angry. They're fallen gods whose power was taken from them, and they want to steal power from Billy and his foster siblings. That's the basic crux of the story. And, everybody's trying to keep their eyes from rolling amid tons of computer-generated hoo-ha and mythic creatures, which, by the way, start to pummel a viewer after a while. This is just not as focused, fresh, and giddy as the first Shazam, which presented kind of a charming origin story, but it has its moments as a kid-friendly, fun-sized bargain matinee, which, by the way, was directed by David F. Sandberg, the way a ringmaster might oversee a herd of balky circus animals.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, it sounds like.
Way too much going on, but there you go. It's cluttered as hell, even more so than the Shazamalee's Rock of Eternity lair. And yeah, for cognition and any sort of emotional investment, you will need to have seen the first one. We talk about this.
Okay.
You can't escape that aspect of these things, right?
What?
So anyway, you want to understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse
Get your
me,
water.
I need a little sip of water.
Yeah, please.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Really, what the hell is going on in this movie?
Anyway, you need to
Michael?
understand the rules of the character, the relationships, and those around him. And
already, I feel like I'm meeting with my lawyer to talk about this stinking movie. I mean,
so anyway,
enough already.
by the way, I got to say there is egregious product placement for Skittles candy here. Taste the rainbow. Actually, more like take the cash. You know what I'm saying?
Applause for Skittles, and egregious is a ding word.
If it's frenetic, occasionally amusing,
Frenetic is a
inoffensive.
ding word. Yeah.
It's something aimed at DC Comics fan. There are unbilled cameos, post-credit sequences. If it's your thing, it's in theaters, but it does pale next to the first of the two Shazam films.
All right. What else do you have?
Let's get back down to earth. I really feel like the need to, even though I am superhero boy. Lovers of real-life murder mysteries, like Courtney and yourself and many of our listeners and viewers, especially serial killings that were not conclusively solved, may want to seek out the new and somewhat engrossing feature, Boston Strangler.
Oh.
It's about the two female newspaper reporters who covered the string of stranglings that targeted a series of women in the Boston area in the 1960s.
Sure.
These murders baffled the cops and terrified the citizenry. And through hindsight, we see that the women most dedicated to investigating the case were either dismissed or derided by fellow journalists, by local politicians, and by the police for much of their attempt to dig up the truth about this death-dealing phantom that they named the Boston Strangler.
That's not fake. That's real.
There have been other dramatizations of the story, including the one with Tony Curtis as prime suspect Albert DeSalvo. But this latest docudrama tells us that there was much more to the murders than the authorities thought when it all went down. Keira Knightley, quite good as Loretta McLaughlin, the style reporter whose yen for covering more serious matters leads her to basically realize that a number of area killings are interrelated. And Carrie Coon is also impressive as the savvy and hard-nosed reporter Jean Cole, who partners with Loretta to try and discover the mysterious culprit behind the deadly crimes.
By the way, as I understand it, there's this sense that it was a bunch of prostitutes who were killed or whatever, but that's not the case.
Absolutely not. A lot of ordinary older women and then a few others. I have to say that this first look at the misogyny that dogged the reporters aside,
misogyny is a ding word. Go ahead,
Boston Strangler isn't the most tension-filled account you're going to see about this topic, but as written and directed by Mark Ruskin in a workmanlike fashion, it does slowly draw you in. The cast, which includes Chris Cooper as the editor who lets Loretta and Jean take on the Strangler assignment, and Alessandro Nivola as a sympathetic local police detective. They sell the seriousness of the criminal inquiry, and the story itself remains compelling many years after it happened. This is on Hulu exclusively, so And it's solid work by all involved, and it's a fascinating story if you recollect the Boston Strangler.
Is it a series or a movie?
It's a movie.
Okay, good. All right, it's on Hulu.
Let's wrap the movie coverage up today with Moving On. So soon after they appeared in the clown show that was the bogus, barely inspired by a true story sports comedy, 80 for Brady, I was a bit apprehensive about seeing another team-up of Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. Nonetheless, I watched the gal's top line, Moving On, a dark, mildly amusing comedy about the bonds of friendship, the potential reclamation of lost love, the burdens of aging, and the morality of revenge. And I was pleasantly surprised that
Reclamation is a ding word.
it wasn't a chore to watch. So even if it's a lightweight endeavor, all aspects of the story were dealt with in such a way that it never felt too labored. And Fonda and Tomlin make for a delightful, often prickly pair this time out.
What is it about, Michael?
Fonda is Claire, a divorced grandmother who travels from Ohio to L.A. to attend the funeral of her best friend. It turns out that for many years she has harbored ill will toward her late friend's husband, played with noxious glee by Malcolm McDowell. In fact, she would like to kill the smug bastard, and she tries to enlist another dear friend of the deceased, Evelyn.
Noxious is a ding word.
Evelyn, a former classical cellist played by Tomlin. Although Claire and Evelyn have been estranged, their mutual hatred of the McDowell character brings them back together. And
Estranged is a ding word.
Amid all of this, Claire finds herself reconnecting with her first husband, now a widower himself, and played by the ever suave Richard Roundtree. None of this is particularly groundbreaking or profound.
It's quite the cast, though.
Moving On is just solid stuff. It's handily written and directed by Paul Weitz, the guy behind the intimate dramedies About a Boy and In Good Company. So, this is a talented director and writer, and it's certainly elevated by a quartet of reliable pros, still at the top of their games, McDowell, Roundtree, and especially Fonda and Tomlin. And it absolutely dispelled the stench of 80 for Brady. Moving On is available in theaters this weekend.
Wow. There you go. He likes Moving On. I mean, he doesn't love it, but he said, yeah, he's really surprised at how it really hangs together and is good. That's the Fonda Tomlin thing you just heard about.
Indeed.
Boston Strangler on a Hulu. He really likes that. Good performances and a story very well told about the women who investigated the Boston Strangler story as it was gripping the Boston area. Yeah. Shazam, Fury of the Gods. He said, if you got to see the other Shazams first. But if you've seen them, this is okay.
It's okay. Again, damning with faint praise. I wish I could be more enthusiastic, but it just we've been here before. We'll see what this refurbishing of the DC movies and TV shows does to the quality of the work and also to audience interest. By the way, Mandalorian season 3 on Disney Plus kind of went off the rails with the most recent episode, but I still enjoy watching Pedro Pascal as this Ronin-like samurai-like wielder of swords and what have you. In the Star Wars universe, Ted Lasso Series 3 kicked off recently. I enjoy this show very much. It's a feel-good thing. It's won a bunch of Emmys. We know what it's about. It's a fish out of water. Right. A football coach from America directing a soccer team. And the Perry Mason Series 2 has been as wonderful as the tremendous first series set in the 30s, the way the original books were, with the incredibly talented Matthew Rhys as Perry Mason. And L.A. is a character in the series like it is in Bosch and like New Orleans is in Your Honor.
Where is Perry Mason?
It's on HBO and HBO Max.
Okay.
Thoroughly enjoyable. That's my TV chunk.
Yeah, I love
weekend.
that. And lastly, will you explain what happened with Everything Everywhere All at Once in that movie? I never really understood it.
Oh, yeah, no, I wish I could, but I won't. By the way, my current column in the Marina Times is all about TV shows that are adapted from real-life stories, particularly two British series, Stonehouse and Litvinenko. One is on BritBox, Stonehouse. The other is on Amazon Prime. And you can read all about these shows, which are incredibly well made and incredibly worth watching in the Marina Times. If you don't get the paper itself, marinatimes.com. Thank you for reading. And as always, thank you for the forum, Mark.
Yeah, I really do enjoy having you in. I thought a very thorough report today, if I might say. Very little left aside. You can read him in the Marina Times. You can find him here on Fridays. He does come and go on a rainbow.
Oren Go Bra, everybody.
Yeah.